round two. We'll turn down the music. We'll turn on the microphones. And then we'll turn us on. Maybe I'll end the stream again. I don't know. Hello, Internet.
Hello, Internet.
Hello, Ryan.
Hello, Adam.
As we were just talking about before I ended the stream and then had to restart it because I clicked the wrong button, we are perfectly on time for 8:30, but then I cost us 2 minutes. 9:30. 9:30.
This is not it.
But like Gandalf says, we are like wizards, always where we're supposed to be right when we mean to, or whatever the quote is I just butchered.
This is a great start to that.
It's a great start to nothing. It has been a month, Ryan. A month.
That's why we have so much to talk about.
I'm not going to dwell, but it was your fault, but that's okay.
Wrong. It was my fault. Entirely. I'm going to mess with all of my lighting at the last moment.
We'll do it live. We'll just do it live. Welcome, everybody. Or nobody. We'll just scream into the void. We don't care if you're watching. This is our bi-weekly, sometimes monthly podcast where we get together and talk about whatever the heck we want to. Typically, it's just nerdy stuff like comic books, movies, and other kind of, I guess it's pop culture now. Nerdy stuff's pop culture, so I guess we just call it pop culture stuff. And yeah, we just hang out for 2 hours, and if people want to jump in and talk with us, that's cool too. We got the chat open. These all go up on YouTube later if you want to recap any of the ones that we did, and that's what we're going to do tonight. So Usually start out by Ryan. How has your month been?
My month has been, it's been a month. I'm not sure. I don't know how anything is anymore ever. I'm just kind of living life. I'm not sure when one day begins and another ends. So
I feel that pain. In case people, we live, and I don't even care if we say it tonight because whatever, the COVID life we're living. This is also my work from home office now. So as many people are dealing with, I am in this chair like a good 12 hours a day now. I am in a basement. I don't see the light of day. I don't leave the house. It's been months now. Months. Since March 14th, I want to say. I have almost exclusively been locked in this basement. So I think it's starting to take a toll. Like, I think I've lasted longer than most, but it's taking a toll. Like, I don't even get out to disc golf or see anybody. Nothing. This is it. This is where I sit 12 hours a day. But it is what it is.
I have been lucky enough to be out disc golfing and such quite a bit, which is probably the biggest difference between like the last 5 or 6 summers for me and now this one, because there's literally nothing else to do. All I do is I go outside and I do stuff, which is good. But
I am very excited that this Friday for Father's Day we are going camping. So I'll be spending 3 or 4 days at a little campground that we spend a lot of time at now. And just get away from this chair. I love this chair, but I want to get away from it. I will say that a couple times I have made it out of the house in the last month or so. I've managed to hit the range with a couple people. And by range, I mean gun range. Which has been very nice to get outside and spend a couple hours laying some freedom seeds.
That's a good term for it.
Turning money into noise is a better descriptive way of saying what that is. But those have been a lifesaver. And actually looking for reasons to go mow my lawn. Just get outside. So that's that. So what's new? Nothing? Just got a haircut.
I did get a haircut finally. Our haircut places officially opened last Wednesday, and
just have to wear a hazmat suit to You just have to have an hazmat suit to get the haircut. Like,
you have to wear a mask, which was probably the first time in all of this. Well, I'm not going to talk about it, but I had to wear a mask.
I have only once been forced to wear a mask since the whole thing started. We live in an area where it has not been massively affecting us in any way, shape, or form. Statistically, it's near zero, and it's most of the stores around here put the signage up but did not enforce anything. There's only one major hardware store around here that I've had to go into once, and they had a guy at the door like not letting people in if they didn't wear them.
There's been,
But joke's on him. Almost all of us took them off once we got past him. So
there you go.
there was several people walking around with them just hanging around their chins and stuff once they made it past the Gestapo.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's life. That I actually have, like I said, I've been disc golfing a lot. It went from doing a whole bunch of hikes to suddenly the disc golf courses are all open, and I've just been doing that a lot.
Hitting it hard.
Yeah, I will admit that the reason we are late today was because I went to Hickory, and it was slow. It
Very
was
slow.
slow, and then we finally got past a bunch of people, and we were cruising because we got past everybody, and I lost track of time, and then suddenly I looked down at my phone, and it was like 20 minutes till, and I went, shit. And so we skipped like the last 3 holes and just like ran back to the cars, and my apologies. Bad management.
It's all good. It's all good. Don't apologize to me. Apologize to those 3 people watching right now, whoever they are.
Where you 3 people are. Thank you for joining us late.
All right. Well, let's I guess let's get to the nerdy stuff. Nobody cares about us, I'm sure. I would like to point out that we have still been at a pretty steady clip working through Gloomhaven still. So anybody who's been paying attention to that, we've had a handful of people like just show up out of the blue and watch us play Gloomhaven and chime in on rules and things, which has been a lot of fun to get what little engagement we've gotten there. We play that on Thursday night still, sometimes on the weekends. Was it the weekend before? What weekend did we play it like 3 nights in a row?
It was crazy.
Yeah, and it broke me because I had to stay up really late to get through all those. It was fun. I'm glad we did it, but we ended up the Sunday night or something. You're like, hey, let's go again. I'm like, no, I'm not going in the office again.
The next weekend, I was like, no.
Oh, right, yeah. And I was just like, nope, it's been a long week. So we did that. We've been doing that. We still haven't started up our acquisitions IRL board game nights. I'm almost kind of wondering if that's going to be hard to do now summer's hit, but I am still hopeful that we will start at least maybe once a month. I don't know what your schedule is, but we're here.
Yeah, I mean, summer makes it, especially in the beginning summer when the sun is out late, it makes it a little harder to want to get inside. But I think once a month we just pick a date and go with it.
Yep. We're pretty much open. I mean, other than this coming weekend, we're going camping, but most any other Saturday or Friday would be open.
Right, and we'll just stream it from there.
And that's fine. There's no internet out there, which is part of the reason I'm going. But they actually were. The crazy fact is that they were running fiber by the campground last year.
Really?
So I don't know if they'll get like fiber into the campground or not, but I think it's pretty funny that it was running past there because it was in the middle of nowhere. I don't know if it was charter fiber. I never figured out who it was, but given my career, I know fiber going into the ground when I see it, and it was definitely being run right past the entrance to the campground. So I don't know why it was out there or what, but hopefully they can tap into it and like give people the option. That'd be kind of neat.
The state campground?
Nope, it's a private run one.
So it's different than the old classic campground that you guys used to go to.
Yeah, we used to spend a lot of time in state parks, but honestly, those have gotten even worse than I remember them as a kid. As far as being like the same exact building for the bathrooms. We've gone back to a couple of them, and we've camped at them in the last recent couple of years. And literally, the bathrooms are 100% have not changed. They haven't been fixed. They haven't been updated. There's not new toilets. There's not new walls. There's not. And it's like that was 20 plus years ago. I was camping there on a regular basis. So it's like they're getting pretty nasty. So my parents found a privately held one locally here that actually is pretty darn good shape, and it's nice, and it's kind of secluded and out of the way, and they get into it. They're actually renting a spot there this year for a whole month.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yep. And so for our family, we bought a bunch of camping gear. We had some stuff, but not really enough for the family. So we have a tent and a couple large air mattresses and a bunch of sleeping bags and all that stuff. So we can actually camp on our own now instead of camping in my parents' camper when we go.
Sure, they appreciate that.
So yeah, it'll be fun. I think that's.
I am hoping to get some sort of camping trip in this year. We'll see. Been talking with a few friends about trying to get up to the UP, maybe do a little bit of waterfalling and camping in one trip there up around Manistee area. But
I saw a post. The amusement parks are opening up. Yes,
Ohio.
Sandusky or
Yes.
Yeah.
Kingland in Cincinnati, which is owned by the same people as Cedar Point, is opening before 4th of July, like the weekend of 4th of July, basically. And then Cedar Point is opening the weekend after that.
Nice.
They're doing very limited capacity. They are doing temperature scans at the entrance. Like basically, if you're running a fever, you ain't coming in.
The spot on the pavement where it's 382 degrees out.
Pretty much, yeah. And then they are, of course, enforcing social distancing in all of the queues.
As best they can.
And then they are requiring a face mask for the entire time that you are in the park as well, which I don't see that lasting.
Right.
Like, I kind of like your experience in the One Hardware. I feel like people are going to have their masks on, and then immediately it's just going to come off.
Right. Or they'll be hanging around where, the guards come in, put them up, and pretend.
That sort of thing. And I mean, honestly, it's the sort of place where people are going to relax and have fun, and I don't really see them going too far out of the way to enforce it anyways.
Right.
As long as you kind of have a token, they'll probably be okay.
Yeah, I feel like if you're worried about germs,
you're probably not.
Cedar Point is not where you want to be. Maybe one of the last places you want to be. I've been to a handful of amusement parks. I've been to like Disney World and Epcot and all those places, and that is not a place you want to go if you're a germaphobe.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, like it's all outside, so like it's not like you're trapped inside an enclosed building with people thing. But yeah, I mean, you're touching everything, and I don't like those rails in the line. It's like unless somebody's coming by literally every 5
second,
like every second, like it's
yeah.
And if you're worried about touch, you're gonna have a hard time. The only thing I am concerned about, because I do plan on getting down there at some point here this summer. Yeah, I mean, I got the season pass, which is next year now, so that's great. But yeah, the only thing I am concerned about is if they do something stupid like block off every other row on like the roller coasters and something, like on the trains.
They probably will. If
they do that, then it doesn't matter how limited you make things. The lines are going to suck because you're going rides at half capacity. And
well, I guess that'll depend on if they're only allowing half capacity into the park to begin with. Right, so like if half the people are only allowed in there, half of the people are only allowed in line, only half the people, then it might be just the same. But I probably not. It'll probably be terrible. It'll probably be awful.
We'll see. I'll make it down there at some point. They do it. I think it may even be less than half capacity. Like it's going to be pretty limited. So we'll see. And then you have to basically buy tickets. And then you have to like pre-register for the day you want to go in order to like reserve.
Yeah. I was wondering if they were going to do some kind of reservation system.
Yeah, reservation system. So season pass holders get priority. So me getting in shouldn't be too hard as long as I pick my date, check the box or whatever. But
nice, cool beans. So I
want to get on a roller coaster. So that's my thought on it.
I have not had that. I've never had that want. I've done it multiple times. It just doesn't do anything for me. I don't. At best, I'm uncomfortable. And I just don't care. I mean, it's not like a scare thing. It's not like I mean, obviously, there's that. your body has natural reactions to the whole entire environment. Like that's the whole point, right? Your adrenaline pumps and you like, get some hits of some weird chemical your brain's pumping because it thinks it's going to die. So, but it's not like a logical fear thing for me. I don't think they're going to, but I just like, I'm a big dude too. And it's just like the whole experience is uncomfortable and hot and like, I'm crowded and waiting in line. Like, it's just no part of that. I mean, good on you for liking it, but I cannot stand that stuff.
It is yeah, it is what it is. I just I don't know. I like going fast. I like the G forces. It's just fun.
If they made like more comfy seats and I didn't have to wait in line for an hour, like I'd probably totally be there right next to you. But all those other things are. You speaking of going fast, it's actually a good segue. Did you watch the SpaceX launch?
I did not.
So, for in case you don't know, or anybody else watching doesn't know, SpaceX, the first private company in America, has built a manned ship and launched it to the International Space Station.
Of America?
Huh?
It's the very first private company in all of America.
To launch a spaceship with manned people.
The first private space company.
Yes.
Okay.
So they are SpaceX, which everybody knows Elon Musk's other company, other than Boring and Tesla, and maybe he has others. I don't know. Those are the ones that most people know. Has been working on space flight for some time. They've been launching satellites for a while. They're the ones that created the crazy Falcon rockets that kind of land themselves after they're done, which is super cool because it reduces the amount of cost per flight, like by an insane amount because they reuse the boosters over and over. They've been working on a capsule called the Dragon capsule, the shuttle or whatever. So much like the old Saturn V rocket style, it sits on top of the rocket instead of the old 80s style spaceship shuttle. And they launched Bob and Doug, which reminds me of the Great White North every time I see that. And they launched them straight up to the International Space Station. Docked, they got off. They're up there working, spacewalking, like whole thing. And it's as somebody who grew up in the 80s where the shuttle launches were like a big deal.
Yeah.
And we even saw some tragedies and stuff. I've always been, it's just a thing. Your kids want to be astronauts and stuff. So I actually watched a shuttle launch, one of the last ones out of Florida when I was pretty young. I think we were down there high school or middle school or something. So I guess I don't know if that'd be one of the last ones, but it was late in the program. This would have been late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And we watched one accidentally. We went down there to go because we'd been to the Houston Space Center. And so we went down to the Kennedy Space Center just to do the tour and look around. And all of a sudden on the way there, the road was just filled with people. So we kind of like rolled down the windows like, hey, what's going on? There's a shuttle launch about to go off. And this is about as close as you can get because they block off a 10-mile radius in case something happens. And so we just pulled over. We didn't actually make it to the Kennedy Space Center that day, but we pulled over and Dad happened to have a pair of binoculars and we watched the shuttle go up, and it was one of the coolest things I think I've ever seen. Not quite as cool watching on TV, but I set the whole family down and we watched SpaceX in the first manned flight to the privatized flight to the space and to the space station. So not just, hey, we sent them up and they came down. Like they went up, they docked with a space station, all this other stuff. It was super cool. Really efficient. It was a really just awesome moment. The kids actually were pretty interested in the rocket taking off, especially my eldest son, Ethan. So I thought that was super fun. If you missed it, it's all over YouTube. You can watch it, but highly recommend in this crazy world we're living in right now to find something like that to hold on to, because everything else is just nuts. And that was kind of fun in the middle of all this chaos to kind of watch like a real achievement, like something crazy cool.
I wonder if they spread COVID to the Space Center.
Oh, I hope so.
Comes down with COVID.
I'm sure they'll test for the antibodies because so far everybody has. Tonight's a whiskey night. It's been a rough week, and it's only Monday, Ryan.
Only Monday.
It's only Monday.
The week is young.
Luckily, I have Friday off, so it's a short week for me.
I know this is me just being repetitive with things, but at some point we should just get you out disc golfing, just one night.
Anything's possible nowadays. I think. I hope.
Possible, likely, yeah. Yeah.
So, what else is new, Ryan? You got anything you want to talk about before I dive into anything?
Supposedly, even though our theaters have been cleared to open for since Wednesday as well, uh, none of our theaters are open. But AMC is talking early to mid-July is what they're aiming at nationwide for reopening.
Have they listed what they want to open with yet?
They're hoping to be open before Tenet comes out in mid-July.
Tenet. Yay. I can't believe it's already coming out. Like, I felt like it was a year away, but then all this crazy stuff has happened, and now it's like...
Yes, it is coming.
It's almost like you can judge how far away a movie is by how many movies are between you and it, right? Because there's a release schedule, and you're usually like, okay, I know all the major releases from now until the movie I really want to watch, and as I see those tick off, I get more and more excited, but no movie news for months. It's been really hard to get that kind of weekly, oh, this is the week that movie launched, so I'm this much closer to the one I want to see. I did want to talk about that for a little bit. I don't know if you watched the clip of it, but what was odd is like the best trailer I've seen for the movie so far, which still doesn't explain like jack shit, which is okay, was actually presented in Fortnite.
Yep.
I don't know why that is a thing. It's not the first time they've obviously done movie tie-ins in Fortnite. It seems a little odd that this movie, though, I'm not sure their audience is 12-year-old boys yelling weird things at each other and dancing at each other's graves. But I at least I got a new trailer out of it.
Yeah.
I'll try to go ahead.
Hoping there's teenagers still playing Fortnite that are trendy and want to watch such a movie.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they buy for that. Like, I got the Marvel ones that they've done, so they did this big Deadpool thing, which I think I talked about on stream, how ashamed I was that I actually spent money on a game that I rarely ever play. I only play with the kids because I wanted the cool Marvel skins. They did the Infinity War thing for a while there. You could be Thanos if you found the gauntlet out in the map, and then you could run around just like devastating people.
Yeah.
It was quite crazy. Those tie-ins I get, but Tenet seems really dark and really not geared toward children at all. Not like it's going to be like some crazy violent thing, but just like it seems
Definitely
like
not.
heavy adult, heavy sci-fi type drama kind of. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. But I do want to see it. I'm excited. So hopefully that comes out soon. Maybe we can brave the COVID together to go watch it.
Sure.
Of course, they'll probably make wear a mask, so I probably won't go.
It's okay. Once we're actually in the theater and we're at the...
They'll just come off.
Be fine. Eat our popcorn bucket.
Yeah. Yep. We'll share one. Spread it around.
Let's just start throwing our popcorn at other people so that
gotta look it first. It's gross. Oh man.
That being said, I am greatly looking forward to, not necessarily, I mean, I do enjoy going to the theater, and I feel like I definitely have gotten there quite a bit more than you have, just because you have, family stuff, and I am a single male and I have the ability to do that. But just even more so than being in the theater, just having new movies again. And I do feel like for myself, I actually watch more movies when I make a point of going there to do, like, oh, this is my event. I'm going to watch a movie. When things come out at home, eventually I just get around to it. And then half the time I end up watching it while I'm doing something else on the second screen and not really giving it the attention. But I'm looking forward to it. Tenet will be good. I'm looking forward to Wonder Woman in August. I'm looking forward to New Mutants in August. And other than those three movies, I have no idea when anything else is coming out.
I don't either. I think we've talked multiple times. I'm ready for all three of those movies. I think they will be good, and I am ready to see them. I was going to. Thought I was going to. Maybe I'm not. I guess that was going to segue me into some other thing. Have you watched anything else, though? I know you just said that it's hard to watch when you're at home, but.
Um, I have honestly, it's been a month, so I feel like my answer should be yes. I've watched so many things, but no, I have not. I've
That's
watched
fair.
4 episodes of Hunter x Hunter, and that's it.
I took part in the Justice League Dark Apocalypse War animated movie that came out. So I don't know if you've seen that. So DC put out an animated movie like they tend to do on a pretty regular basis, and it kind of wraps up this kind of apocalypse war. Really, honestly, Flashpoint. I guess these are all tied into like the Flashpoint movie they did a while ago, because spoilers at the end. There's a whole thing with the Flashpoint and how all this just kind of came as a reality of the Flashpoint and yada yada yada. But it's pretty good. It's John Constantine kind of is the main star, which is always fun. I love the Constantine story stuff. I mean, I'm not big into his comics. I will admit that most of my fandom comes from the Keanu Reeves movie, which we've kind of talked about. But I love that movie. I know it has its problems when it comes to the comic book purists, but I really do like that movie. So,
Movie. It is not John Constantine as the comic book people know him, but it is a good movie nonetheless.
yeah, and I think it was one of those rare earlier like comic book adaptations that actually worked really well. Because before that, some of them were pretty darn cheesy. So I've mostly just watched that, I think. And then the new Rick and Morty have been on a regular basis now. I don't know how much of a Rick and Morty fan you are, but I love that show. I am one of those diehard like fans. I just want a new episode constantly. I don't know how much longer they can keep the show up. Like, I know they signed like 70 more episodes, like a 10 or a 7-year contract or something at 10 episodes apiece. I feel like the show's mostly run its course. Like, I thought that a while ago, but I still watch it. It's still good.
I mean, the reality of it is South Park is still happening on a regular basis, and if you tune in, it's still really good. It's just nobody cares anymore.
Right.
So, I mean, they can continue making Rick and Morty, and it will still probably be the best thing on Adult Swim for as long as they keep making it. But at some point, yeah, people probably stop caring. But if it's still the best thing and still gets the highest ratings, they'll keep making it because they don't have anything better.
That's actually probably a really good comparison. I didn't really think of it that way. Is it probably could be the next South Park. The only problem I have is South Park has these massive fluctuations in the scope and the size of the outrage that they have, right? Like they jump the shark, but then they bring it back, and there's lots of episodes that are good, but they're just like they're fine. They're not too. And then they'll have these big episodes.
I found that recently it tends to go more by season. Like they do one season a year, and it's usually in the fall. And
yeah,
they famously like put together each episode on a week by week basis, like essentially in like a live setting. So like they will literally turn in the final product for the show the morning that it airs that night on Comedy Central.
right.
And then immediately go home after they turn it in that morning. They'll go home, get some rest, and then come back that next like Friday or Thursday, whatever the next day is after the airs, and start throwing together ideas for the next episode. And so when there's stuff going on that's like really intriguing,
outrageous and crazy,
tend to have a really great season because they have so much stuff to play off of. But if there's nothing really going on, or if everything that is going on is just mundane, like not mundane, but just like, what can you do other than say, oh, this is crazy?
right.
And it just kind of into like meh TV, but like it yeah. So it goes up and down very, very, very hard.
So the difference there between Rick and Morty and that is Rick and Morty is not based really on current events. Yeah. I mean, they'll make references to things that are current in pop culture and stuff like that, but they aren't like directly related to current events. One, and two, they jump the shark from day one, and that's all they do every episode. So there's no like the fluctuation with South Park is great because like they can come back and go for it. And then when they get crazy, like It hasn't been crazy for a while. It's just boom, crazy again, and you're like, okay, this is crazy every single episode. So, yeah. Hey, bud, you going to bed? Yeah. All right. Good night.
Night.
Love you.
I,
And so, like, every episode is just high octane, like outrageous insanity, which is why I said it's hard to tell where the heck, as a writer, there almost has to be this. I feel like with South Park, especially after 20 years or whatever of South Park, it's okay when you have not the most outrageous episode ever, because you're just gonna go right, and you work with what you have. Just like these podcast episodes, we just go with what we have. And there's not like a huge expectation to live up with, because the show's always been kind of this cheap, just funny thing, where the production value and the insanity of the story and the crazy lessons and things they try to tackle in Rick and Morty are so deep and leveled, and it's both ridiculously stupid and ridiculously smart at the same time. Or at least it's fooled people into thinking it that way anyway.
What you just said, so ridiculously stupid and ridiculously smart all at the same time, is exactly how I think of Dan Harmon.
Well, yeah, and that's his show.
But so ridiculously smart all at the same time. And the reason why I feel like they can keep it up and why they have kept it up by and large, like I know like he is, it's a lot the other guy's idea, Justin, whatever his name is. Like it's more his flavor, if you will, but you can tell Dan Harmon has a lot to do with it, because the thing with Dan is whether you like a lot, whether you think the way that he thinks or not.
And I don't think anybody thinks the way Dan Harmon thinks.
Way he thinks. Okay, I'm going in circles. What I'm getting at is he's actually really well known, like among writing circles, for having what he calls his circular writing, which isn't exactly his thing, but he's kind of like been a big pusher of it and has taught a lot of stuff on it. And like he basically is known as being a really good writer. He's also known for slacking and not being able to put things together on a timely basis, and for a whole bunch of other things. But that being said, I think that he can constantly at least make sure the output that they're giving is at the same standard.
I almost shy away from mentioning this, but I almost thought for a minute there that his projects were going to die a sad death, because I don't know if you saw this, but during like the big Me Too movement, he somebody drudged up this old video he did. It wasn't in hiding, but it was just kind of obscure in the middle of the dark corners of the internet somewhere, and it's this nasty piece of work, which I get what he was trying to do, but like maybe this was just early before he understood the lines he can't quite cross, or maybe he just needed to cross the line. But he basically created a pilot show for a Dexter ripoff, but he was having sexual relationships with babies. Like, it was, instead of serial killing, it was awful. Like, it was god awful. And I put myself through watching it because I couldn't even believe that was a thing. I'm like, okay, there's got to be some funny twist to it. And honestly, there's not. Like, it's just terrible.
Knowing him, he would do it as a joke, but play it 100% straight, just because his point would be to say, somebody let me do this.
Yeah.
And you do that. Which does not make it any better in any way, shape, or form. But yeah.
Yeah, and I feel that's exactly it. Like, he was just, it was almost like, because I feel it was quite a while ago. I don't remember when it was made, but I'm sure it was earlier in his career. Maybe didn't have as much to lose, and he got the ability to push the envelope just as, like, because sometimes you just got to take it as far as you can. Then you're like, okay, that's too far. Let's bring it back. And like, this is where the comfort zone is. Like, I can push it this far and people will be shocked, but I'm not going to be super creepazoid. And I think he took it too far. But I was surprised that when that came out, because it got quite a bit of buzz on like Twitter and Reddit, which, you know, that's like 10 people. But in the whole grand scheme of the population of the world. But I was surprised it didn't hurt him as bad as it did. But he's still going. He's still got other shows stuff coming up. I miss Harmon Quest. That's like my favorite thing he does. He does that show where they run. I think it's based off Pathfinder, not D&D, but it's basically D&D where they run through a story, and he has like two other comedians like a professional dungeon master, and then he usually gets one or two guests on to play guest roles in the campaign, and it's been super fun to watch. Like, it's goofy. Like, I wouldn't want to be a part of that campaign, but yeah, even the wife watched it. It was quite fun. Hello, wife.
The first campaign, well, I guess it's all one campaign, but the first season I thought was really, really good. The second season got a little off the walls at points, but it was good. Hi, Rebecca.
Yeah, they don't take it like they seriously tell the story.
It was really.
You're kind of turned to a robot again. I think it's about time for your robot voice to show up. You have like a process that runs on your computer like every night at like 9:30 to 10, somewhere in there. But yeah, so Harmon Quest, if you haven't watched it, I may have mentioned it before on the podcast, but it is actually quite good to watch. I think it's just them sitting around the table, and then they animate kind of the story of each week when they go through and do the quest. And so there's an animation around it, which is kind of fun. And yeah, they don't take it super serious because it's Dan Harmon, right? Like, he's not gonna. The Dungeon Master runs it and they play or whatever, but they're goofballs at it, which is, it kind of makes it entertaining. I think.
And I'm sure they edited the crap out of that show too.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure.
Those sessions are probably 3 hours plus long, and they turn into like 20-minute shows.
Exactly. Yeah. Another great thing that nobody knows of that Dan Harmon did was there was a point in time where History Channel was making like these short YouTube shows, were basically like 10-minute episode shows. And there was one called Great Minds with Dan Harmon. And basically the premise of it was Spencer, who is the dungeon master from the Harmon Quest, creates a machine that takes the living energy of somebody from the past and then molds like some sort of living bacteria, like, I don't even know how to say it, but basically
biologically 3D prints a historical figure.
Yeah, like imprint a historical figure on it. And so like, but they only live for like 8 hours or something, and then like they biodegrade essentially. And so like the very first episode is like, and he can't control who he gets. It's just some random person from the past, and it's always somebody famous, of course, because
right. Because why else would you have the show?
Right. So like the first one they bring back is Beethoven, and of course it's played by Jack Black.
I think I have seen that.
And so like they get him clothes that like from the props in the studio that fits their era, and then he sits with them in like his in his office and starts going through their Wikipedia page and like says, okay, so according to the Wikipedia this, and just runs through the page and gets corrections from them about what's going on, and it usually devolves into some adventure that they go on before they start going, oh, I don't feel so good, and then like they turn into dust, and then Spencer vacuums them up and then puts their dust on the ledge and then puts a tape over saying who they were.
That's funny.
12 episodes or something, and each one has like some famous person played by a guest star who's usually either somebody famous or somebody who's been part of like his different projects in the past. It's pretty fun.
I'll have to look those up. Hopefully they're more kid friendly given they're on the History Channel.
They're not kid unfriendly, although they're not designed for kids, so
sure,
put it that way.
Okay.
Also, of course, it goes without saying, I think I've said it many times on here, Community is a great show. You should all watch it.
We've been working through it a little bit here and there.
More now that it's been on Netflix, more people have been, and it's I just love it. It's a good show.
It definitely has its moments where it shines. I think it'd be better if I could binge watch it, but I haven't been. I've just been catching episodes here and there. I probably just need to sit down and like really hit it hard.
My roommate is opening a door behind me and asking me a question. What?
Are we talking about break shows?
Steven.
Joe's.
Oh, Dan Harmon shows.
Yep.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Steven says they're pretty good, and now he's gone.
Well, there you go, Internet. We have confirmation from Steven that Dan Harmon shows are good. We can just put this to bed and just walk away. We do not have to convince you any longer. We've won today.
And if you really want to feel like you wasted an hour and a half of your life, download his most recent Harmontown podcast. just any of them really. And you will get a little bit of a glimpse into the mind of a drunk Dan Harmon that comes out every single week. And then you'll be like, how is this guy making anything?
How does he function? I don't think I want to go that far. I don't want to go that. No, I don't want to go that far. I'm thinking about it more and more, and I'm just like, I don't want to go there.
Don't do it.
I won't.
Don't.
So what else we got going on here? There has been some kind of. Apparently, Kate Blanchett is going to play in a Borderlands movie.
There's a Borderlands movie?
Apparently, they're going to make one, and Kate Blanchett, recently of Thor Ragnarok, is apparently going to be playing Lilith in the Borderlands movie.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I can see it. She seems... This is probably a terrible thing to say. I'm going to get me canceled all over the place, but she seems a little older than Lilith, but, you know, whatever. I'm sure she can pull it off.
I will
She was great in Thor Ragnarok, so...
Old ladies, but she is not a bad-looking old lady. So.
No.
Not that it's about being a good-looking old lady to play a role. Like, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I'm done.
Yep, we can just be done with that. Lilith is the best character by far. So I hope she doesn't screw it up. We'll just put it that way. What else is going on? I wrote down a note about Peter Dinklage and Jason Momoa is doing some kind of show called Good, Bad, and Undead.
Interesting.
I'm gonna. All I really read was Peter Dinklage is playing Van Helsing, and apparently there's some vampire stuff, and I like both those guys a lot, so I'll watch it. I have no clue if it's going to be terrible or good, but I'm 100% behind both those guys. So
Peter Dinklage like Van Helsing, and then like The Rock is like his helper person who actually does everything for him.
No, well, The Rock's not in it. I'm talking Jason Momoa, who's Aquaman.
Yes, Jason Momoa.
I believe he plays the vampire. I believe there's like a vampire. Obviously, there's vampires if it's a Van Helsing thing, but I believe he plays the vampire and Dinklage is Van Helsing. I'm calling it right now. It's like buddy cop movie, but Van Helsing.
Like a buddy vampire helper.
I'm calling it right now. It's
right.
Gonna be a weird take on the buddy cop movie, and they're gonna team up and fight evil.
Is this part of the canceled Universal monster universe?
I have no idea. I didn't read that far.
Probably not.
I didn't need any more than that. I got Dinklage and I got Aquaman. I'm in.
Enough.
We talked about the Fortnite Tenet trailer, which I watched. I thought it looked even better. Like, I still want to know. It just basically expands the trailer you already saw from when they were running it in theaters. It's just longer, but it doesn't really add any kind of background to it other than...
It just gives you a few more like clips of crazy things happening where you're like...
Yeah. And some of the clips are longer when it comes to expanding that stuff. It didn't give a lot, which I don't think you can give a whole lot away, or you give the movie away too much, I think.
Sure.
Still really looking forward to that.
Have you seen Dunkirk? You've seen Dunkirk.
I haven't seen it. I think last time we talked, I said that was my homework.
It was. That movie is... I have it on Blu-ray if you need to borrow it.
And I think I have it. I have not watched it. I do have it. I will watch it someday. The problem is I can't stop watching anime. Which we'll get to in a minute here. I want to get through some other stuff before I go on my tangent about what we watched. Indiana Jones has lost another writer. So for those who don't know, they have been looking at making a Spielberg-headed Indiana Jones 5.
Spielberg stepped out of the directing chair.
Yep. Yep. But like his name's all over it as executive producer or whatever. They had
the first Transformers movie too. So I mean,
yeah. Who knows what that means, right? But David Coeep said he was stepping down because they got a new director, James Mangold, and apparently it wasn't working for him. So I guess he's like, no, it's Mangold's time to shine. I'm out.
And Mangold is of Logan fame. It's probably the last really good movie that he's associated with. And I think he both wrote and directed that. So I mean, it's not a bad cred or street cred.
Dude, could you imagine? Well, I think he was associated with Ford versus Ferrari too. I think I saw that somewhere.
Yes, I think that was another one of his movies.
And everybody liked that movie a lot.
I like that movie a lot.
And I still have not watched it because I'm awful at life, but I heard everybody really liked that. I don't know, but I think it would be awesome to get like a Logan style old man Indiana Jones, grizzled and terrible, and dies at the end. Like that'd be awesome.
Depending on when they do it.
They might not have a choice. Ah, that's terrible.
Harrison Ford is still going strong, but the old and grizzled part, he's definitely got down now.
It's like all he is now. He's just grizzle. Like that's all it is. The man is so grizzled he can't even die in airplane crashes. Like
it's too much. Can't
he's just too ornery to even be killed by an airplane. Like it's ridiculous.
That being said, I was surprised at how not stiff and lifeless he was in the last Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
like the 2 minutes he was on the screen, I was actually like, he actually looks really good. He's doing all right.
Yeah. If you look close, you can tell. But for the most part, it was great. You know, a movie he did, and if the wife's still listening, she can tell me. The wife likes this movie. It's a girl who can't age, and I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head. But he plays the father of the love interest for this woman, Age of Adeline. Yeah, she is still listening. There we go. Number one fan right here. Age of Adeline. We've actually watched this movie a couple times.
Is that the chick who's married to Ryan Reynolds, right?
I guess I don't know, but she is in some weird accident. She can't die. She doesn't age. She's like super old at this point, and at some point she falls in with this guy and goes home to his house, and Harrison Ford plays the dad, and he's great. He's not old and grizzled. I mean, he's old because this movie's not. I mean, it's a couple 2-3 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, it was cool.
But he's great in the movie. Like he acts. Like he actually acts. Like he's not Jack Ryan. He's not Harrison Ford. He's not, like, which I thought was pretty good. I thought that I really enjoyed watching him in that. Blake Lively.
I was correct.
Yeah, she's great in that movie too. She is like, so the character she plays is from like the 1920s or something. Very classy looking, and she just has that like super classy high cheekbone like frame thing, and like she crushes it in that role. That whole movie's really good. Like total good date night movie. Like hit that up. It's really good.
All I need to do is have a date night
with yourself if you have to, but it's good. It's good. We won't go there. Let's keep moving. I saw some interesting thing where Snyder was tweeting out. He answered which Robin died in the Snyder DC verse movies, because there was some question on who it was, and he ended up clarifying it was Dick Grayson, and there was some plan to explore that, but obviously those never came to fruition.
I disagree with him.
I'm not surprised. Some other people seem to as well, because they were asking specifically. If
it's not Jason Todd, it's not real.
Yeah, that was the whole thing, and people are like, it's Jason whatever, and he said no, it was Dick Grayson. So
people spoke to this 30 years ago, however long ago it was. They voted, and DC said your votes win. It's Jason Todd who dies, not Dick Grayson. Settled. It's over. You can't go against the will of the people.
It is what it is. That's what he said.
Isn't.
I think he's just in permanent troll mode for everybody in the DC universe. Like, yeah, there's a cutout there, and he's just like, Because he's so sick of maybe people asking him. So
we talk about that a month ago. How on HBO Max they're going to release the Snyder cut of Justice League.
I do believe we covered it. I don't know if it came to the. I don't know if we covered that it was getting released, but I think we had talked that there was a lot of talk that it was going. Like it wasn't so official, but it sounds now like they are getting closer to actually doing it. Right?
They are. It is. To my knowledge, I think I had read that it is officially going to be released next year on HBO Max, and it is like part of the Warner Brothers bringing all of their collective stuff together, basically on HBO Max, as trying to compete with Disney Plus.
Good luck.
Warner Brothers is like probably the one company that can kind of come close, in the sense that they own a lot of stuff. Not that they own as good as stuff, but they own a lot of stuff.
It's just weird to me that you picked the partnership with HBO. I guess HBO probably gave them the better deal because they're trying to compete with Netflix as well.
Yeah, but it's not like a partnership with them. Like they own HBO straight up.
Oh, I guess I didn't realize that. So never mind. That makes total sense. I guess I didn't realize that Warner Brothers owned HBO. That makes way more sense. I just want everything on Netflix because I don't care about any other streaming service. Netflix just does it right. And I just want everything on there. And I just want my $13 a month just to get me everything.
That's fair.
But we also pay for Disney Plus now, so I guess I can't. We did a tryout for it, and the kids and stuff tend to watch it. And when I'm bored and nothing else is on, and the kids are running around, I'll just put on like a Marvel movie sometimes or a Star Wars movie and just let it play in the background. So
yeah,
the service works. I will say that, like, it's crystal clear. It runs well. The interface steals a lot from Netflix, so it kind of works. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of funny how little stuff is actually on there. Like there's a ton of stuff. Don't get me wrong, but you quickly run out of the things you care about.
Right. If all you want to do is relive like the last 50 years of Disney, then there's a lot of stuff. But if you're looking for new stuff, there's not really much.
I will say having X-Men the animated series on there is awesome. Me and Ethan have watched a handful of episodes now, and we've been kind of working our way through that a little bit when we're bored.
There is some talk of actually reviving it for like new seasons, which I don't know how I feel about that. Like it's a good idea, but I think you almost have to start with something new because it's to do it justice, you would have such a jar of like quality and animation and everything. Like,
I don't know. I feel like it kind of had a little lightning in the bottle, right? Like, I know a lot of people like the animation. I think that's pretty cheesy.
I mean, it's 90s animation, which isn't horrible, but it was like just before the Batman animated series really stepped it all up to the next level.
And it's rough to watch it. And granted, you're talking like 4x3 tube TVs still. Like this is before HD and plasma and LCDs. And so like it looked way better on our old console wooden TV that we were probably watching it on. But to watch it in high def now, it's rough. But it works. The thing I think won't work nowadays, like if they revive it, I promise you it won't be as good. And it's because they can't touch the subjects the way they did. Like they touch some pretty heavy stuff. A lot of the X-Men stuff is related to racism and all that kind of stuff. But they don't touch it in like the PC woke way that everybody has to touch things now. It was a more realistic look at it. Yeah. And it was a more pragmatic look at it, which I thought was way better than a lot of the way. It's hard. I'm tripping over minds here. I'm trying not to get too into it, but I think there's a ton there that just work really well on that show, and it's incredibly deep if you really want to look at it that way. You don't have to. You can just enjoy it for the action and the X-Men and the superhero stuff. But if you really watch it, like it gets pretty deep. And I'm watching it again. I'm like, man, they actually go deep on this. And I don't think they could do it in the same fashion without either not doing it enough justice and pissing off everybody on one side, or going too far and pissing everybody on the other side off or something. Like I don't think the world exists that way like it did in the 90s, where we kind of just talked and said the way shit was. And now we don't.
back when it was enough to just say to treat people well and not to assume people are horrible for whatever reason.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, that was the key thing,
Point.
right? Like there was things that were dumb, and we all were like, "Hey, that stuff's dumb. We shouldn't do it." But now everything's
It's about telling people not to be dumb and more telling about people not to be dumb about a stupid certain thing in a certain way. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's now I'm just gonna say it. It feels like it's more about saying that you're not racist than actually just being a good person.
well, it's control.
Hmm?
It's control. I don't know if it's necessarily about racism at all. I think
That's
I think every side is trying to gain some kind of control, and like this idea that silence is violence is a control mechanism. That's not a morality or a philosophy. That's literally, you will agree with us or we will beat you up. But again, I digress. Maybe this podcast needs to turn into that, because I almost feel more excited talking about that than
all in trouble with the world.
get canceled, get demonetized. Oh wait, we don't make any money off this. What are we talking about? Anyway, yeah. So that whole can of worms that we just couldn't even stop ourselves from opening up, I don't see how X-Men's not going to be able to open that
It's
up.
gonna be our
Which
lowest
means it will.
you've ever.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Who cares? I do this for us, not for anybody else. But I don't see how X-Men the Anime Series could come back without having to trip over those same mines that we couldn't even just traverse there without getting into some huffy puffy thing about it, right? Like that was part of what made the show great, is it had both levels. Like you could watch it as a action cartoon of superheroes, or you could watch it for the kind of really intelligent, deeper messages that it was trying to do without being like super preachy.
Right.
Which I thought was super cool. But
Show for its time, absolutely.
Maybe it could come back, and maybe it would do it right, and everybody could learn to chill the fuck out. What else? I got other things.
So you've been saying that you've been watching a lot of anime.
Oh my god, yes, I have been. I was going to mention two more things before I get into that, because I mean, not a lot of animes, just a lot of one anime recently. I've been binging it pretty hard. I wanted to say I've been playing Minecraft Dungeons. I actually got the whole family playing it. I don't know if anybody watches Zero Punctuation. If you don't watch him, his name's Yahtzee. He's the best video game reviewer of all time, and he's been at it for a long time. I suggest go back and watch the entire catalog, because even if it's an old game, you will love his reviews. I felt sad because as much as I knew he was going to tear at a new one, because that's all he kind of does, I was hoping, some glimmer of hope, that when he hit Minecraft Dungeons, he would rip it for what it is, but then say that it was an okay game at the end. He did not. I'm going to argue with him. For $20 for the base game, or if you have Microsoft Game Pass, you can just get it.
Yep.
It is a hell of a lot of fun for $20. It's a dungeon crawler, so if you're huge into Diablo or Path of Exile, which I loved both of those games. I mean, if you love Diablo, you're going to love Path of Exile. If you haven't played Path of Exile, whoever's listening to this, you should try it. It's free to play. It's amazing, super deep, really fun. But it's complicated. It's deep. It takes a while to get through. Minecraft Dungeons is just, it strips all the monotony out of it, all the fluff, and it's just a straight up dungeon crawler where you find some gear and you run through, and it's skinned in Minecraft. So it's real basic and simple, but it's fast. It's fun. It's $20. I mean, it's not going to drain your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for something like that, you can get 4 people on it. So it's co-op. It's fun. Minecraft Dungeons. I highly recommend it. It's out at all systems. I have it for the Switch and my computer. I will say this. It runs like garbage on the Switch. So until they get some kind of patch for optimization, you will experience a lot of frame rate drops, especially if you play multiplayer. It's not split screen, but you can do on-screen multiplayer and local box multiplayer, and the frame rate drops get atrocious at times. But other than that, the game is super fun. We've been playing some of that.
Install it on my Xbox a little while ago, and I have not played it yet, but everybody, including you, who has talked to me about it, has said that it's quite good and just a good time. And I'm like, yeah, all right.
I'm pretty disappointed. They said cross-platform play was coming, but it didn't launch with it, and I thought that was a huge mistake. So I can't play, like, if you're on the Xbox, I can't play on my computer, and like I can't jump into my kid's game on the Switch. I thought that was a huge mistake. For what it is, they should have done that because it would be perfect for that. Did you see the Star Wars Squadron trailer that just launched?
Not see the trailer, but when I opened Steam, I did have a giant advertisement at the top telling me about it. Now I can pre-order it. But the few screenshots I saw looked pretty neat.
I haven't seen any gameplay. I watched the trailer. There was no gameplay in it. It was just a cinematic, which obviously looked good because they all do now. You can't not have a game cinematic and not have it look tremendous. But the idea is it's like 4-on-4 or 5-on-5 squadron-based space battle, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter type. I'm sure there's more ships because it's called Squadron. And
Is it made by people who made Descent Free Space?
No, but I hope so.
For those of you who aren't,
I don't think EA bought Interplay, right? Wasn't that an Interplay title?
well, it was when Descent, the Descent team split into two different groups, and one of them continued making games for a different company after Interplay died. It was a Free Space one that continued. Yeah. So I don't know who, like, I think even their little thing dispersed at one point. But for those of you who are not, heavy, flight simulator / space player, spaceship game, I can't talk. I don't know why I can't talk. People who haven't played these sort of games from like 20 years ago, let me tell you that Descent Free Space was one of the great space shooters of all time. And that's all I'm saying. I'm done now.
It was like Descent, but in free space.
Free space, exactly.
If anybody doesn't remember Descent because you're either super young or you were under a rock in the 90s, Descent was a super fun shooter, but because of limitations of computers and stuff, I would imagine is the reason for this. It was in tunnels. Like you would enter a asteroid and you'd have to fly through tunnels. It may have bigger rooms that you can, 3D space fly around. But for the most part, you were in tunnels, and we used to have a hell of a lot of fun playing Descent 2, I think. I don't know if it was, I think it was mostly 2.
Using tunneling software.
Kali.
Kali.
Were we using Kali? So, yeah, so a little history lesson for you kids out there is before IPv4 existed and we were using Ethernet to get on the internet, all of your connection protocols for LAN-based communication, which means local area network, if you had a game with somebody next to you, you had to use IPX, which was not a protocol that was around on the internet. Like I couldn't IPX to somebody else. So what you would use is something like Kali. There was a couple other ones. GameSpy, I think, did this. They had their own client.
Yeah,
and
one that started with K that I can't remember the name of right now. But yeah, there's a few of them. And
the idea was it would tunnel IPX traffic over IP traffic, and you could connect with people and play Duke Nukem 3D, Descent 2, like Doom, and a lot of these old games that didn't have like IP online playable things. They only supported local LAN based play. And so we'd have times with Descent and stuff. I remember, actually I may still have. Nope, that one got broken. Anthony broke that. Our good friend Anthony broke this. I used to have a Top Gun labeled Flightmaster joystick, and I would use that when we played Descent, and I always felt like a god because everybody else was trying to use mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, it was the 3D space. Like nowadays it's not that big of a deal, but like back in the day, like making the change from like Doom to being actually like in a ship that goes up and down, back and forth, and strafing and everything was a pretty big jump. Like,
yep. Then free space was the idea that they basically took that mechanic and put it in space. So the draw distances now were a lot farther, and you could actually have like a space battle. Because that was the whole problem why you had to contain things into a small corridor or a halfway decent sized room, is draw distances made computers explode back then. Literally just start on fire. So yeah, free space was all that stuff was fun. That's good stuff. They should remake that, bring it back.
And free space had a good storyline and really great gameplay. Like it was as good as, if not better than, every single one of the Star Wars like flight sim games that they had back in the day. Like it blew them all out of the water. And yeah, I'm a little sad that it didn't survive into the future a little bit better.
Rip Interplay. What are you gonna do, right?
Not make Descent free space anymore.
Let's see. What else? What else did I have? I didn't have really anything else. Oh, PS5. Did you see the launch for PS5? It looks goofy as fuck. I don't know. I've never been a PlayStation fan. I know that it's probably the better. All the fanboys can flame us. It's got the better games. It's got the better hardware, whatever. But I've never been a PlayStation fan since day one. I've never owned one. That's a lie. At one point, I bought a PlayStation 3 on sale because it was a Blu-ray player, and I got it for dirt cheap. I may have put like 2 games in it ever, and I never spent any time playing them. I only owned it for a Blu-ray player. When our poor HD DVDs failed to win the war with the Xbox.
Yeah. That's because the Xbox didn't come with the player built in. You had to buy the add-on and that.
Yeah, that did not help.
PS1 for a long time, and I am still a big fan of all of the RPGs from the like Japanese RPGs from the PS1 era.
Sure.
And I would gladly have them all on a shelf still with the PS1 and dig it out and play it from time to time. Instead, you have to use other means.
Other means. I think my favorite PlayStation experience was I had a cousin who had, I think it was a PlayStation 1, and it had Cipher Filter or Siphon Filter, something like that. And it was kind of a stealth, like knockoff of Metal Gear. And I had a blast playing that game. I played the heck out of that. I really liked that game.
And of course, we famously, I say famously, to those, I think we've talked about it, played Steven's PS2 Tekken Tag like the crap out of that game.
And NHL Hits.
And NHL Hits. It's Ryan!
My character is not appropriate for the internet, apparently. I'm not going to mention it. Yeah, so along with the PlayStation 5 announcement, they also released a trailer. Well, not along with. Actually, I think this came out just before the announcement for the PlayStation 5 itself. But they announced the next Spider-Man title because Spider-Man had a pretty big launch on the PS4. Everybody says the game is great. I have yet to play it because I don't have a PlayStation, but everybody says it's awesome. And apparently they announced the next title, which will be on the PS5, which is Spider-Man Miles Morales. It's a standalone where Miles Morales will be the main character instead of Peter Parker. So I've heard some people say that the Miles Morales in the Spider-Man game is the best version of that character. I don't know one way or the other. Didn't play the game, but here's hoping that's good because I like it when Spider-Man has successful stuff, and that game was super popular for a while.
All I know is that I really, 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 really want Godzilla versus King Kong to come out.
Nope, it's canceled.
It's not canceled.
You're right. I don't really know. I have. What was this?
What is it?
There was something about Cyberpunk 2077, but I don't think it was anything that I meant to talk about here. Yep, that's basically been it. That's all the news I've been finding. We haven't really been doing anything. Mostly playing Magic the Gathering Arena. So I think we talked a little bit about, but I've been like really hardcore into it. I made Diamond, which I felt pretty good with my really shitty budget white deck. White-black deck, where I have dumped some of my wild cards into getting a couple mythics and a handful of rares, but I found at Diamond, that's when you hit the pay to play, pay to win wall, unfortunately, where it's just like, I have some screenshots somewhere where every single card on the table and every card in their discard when I lose is rare or mythic. There wasn't a single common or uncommon. Like, obviously, whatever they're doing, they're pumping an insane amount of resources into those decks to get every single rare and mythic that they can get unlocked, which is fine. That's just what Magic is. You got to expect it. But if you have a budget deck, you can make it to Diamond, which is nice because you lock in once you make it. And during that season, once you make it to the level you're at, you can't lose it. can't go back down into, say, gold or platinum once you make it up to the next level. So I made it to diamond. I can't get anywhere up there because every time I get any momentum, I'm about to hit tier 3 because you start at 4, 3, 2, 1. Every time I hit, I'm like 1 or 2 away from 3. I run into 5 decks that are literally the most expensive decks you could possibly ever buy. And I don't mean that because you can't buy them individually, but the amount of packs you would have to open to have the wild cards resources available to create that deck is psychotic. So that has not been fun.
That said, I feel like I'm sure they have multiple decks like that. If they have one deck like that and they're at that level, they're probably playing enough. They have multiple decks like that.
Sure.
But I will say, once, because I know that you just kind of started playing again, what, about a month and a half ago?
It's probably been about a month.
And like, I will say, once you've been playing it pretty consistently for like 6 months or so, you find that like you build your decks, you start building multiple decks, and then pretty soon you just start getting in the gold, like the free money gold. And then pretty soon, like I've been sitting on like 45,000 gold for like months, and like that's 45 packs if I wanted to open them. And like,
yeah, and I think that's kind of the next thing for me is, yeah, I've been goofing around looking at some of the cosmetic cards and things too, so I've spent some of it, but I said around 15,000 the last week or so. But you start losing resources when you're trying to compete in diamond because you don't win. And to get your XP bonus of cash and stuff, sometimes it helps to win, and you don't progress your season pass as fast without winning. So I've mostly just jumped back down into general play where I can still stomp more people than I don't.
Sure.
But that doesn't seem as fun now that I've made it up to where I have. So
made it up high.
Yeah.
My problem is I have so many decks, and like they're not bad decks. Steven would say that I make good decks for the most part, but I don't feel like they're the greatest because I have so many of them. And then I will just play whatever one in the ranked match that best fits what my like daily missions are in order to like get the gold mission.
Play 20 blue cards or whatever.
And like I don't go play it on like some unranked thing. I just keep playing it in ranked because whatever, because I don't care. And so like I've now just made platinum for like the first time ever, which isn't that hard to do if you have a deck or two that's just a good deck. And just keep
playing it. I would say I'd like to. I'm the opposite. I just want one main deck that I concentrate all my time and energy on, because I find the more I play one deck, the better I get at playing that deck. Because one thing I find with Magic is like you can hand me the best deck in the world. If I've never played it before, I'm going to make lots of mistakes when the timing and when to bring stuff out and what synergizes with it. And sure, you can take a mediocre deck, and if that's all you play all the time, you learn how to play it really well and not to make mistakes and to synergize things better. So I tend to just have one deck that I slightly tweak here and there as I find things. So I like it. It's fine. I'm kind of over it until the season ends, but I still play it when I have a little bit of downtime.
Something.
I did pick up Riot's version of Hearthstone, Legends of Runeterra. And I've played a couple matches in that. It's Hearthstone. It's actually probably not as good as Hearthstone. It's fine.
Like I don't hate Hearthstone. I know a lot of people, especially when Hearthstone first came out, or like the anti-Magic people are like, "Oh my god, it's so much better than Magic." And I'm like, I don't know if it really is. It doesn't seem as deep as Magic to me.
It's not, but I think that's kind of the appeal. Is the problem with Magic, and I think we've kind of discussed this, and I think I've been thinking about this a lot as I've been playing a lot more of it. I think Magic is fundamentally broken as fuck. But the problem is there's so much broken stuff that it balances out in weird chaos, right? Like we talked and you said that it's very balanced in a certain way because they spend a lot of time on it. I almost feel like it's the exact opposite. I feel like they just pump as much chaos into the system that eventually it just kind of comes to this weird balance of like, yeah, you can find this absolutely broken mechanic, but somebody else can find a broken mechanic to balance yours, because as soon as you break the mechanic, it's going to become meta, and then people are going to anti-meta build decks, and then it kind of just paper, rock, scissors itself in this weird kind of chaotic ball. And then eventually they do find one card's like that agent card that they just banned treacherous agent that just is that needs to go. It needs to go now. But other than that, it's just we just introduce chaos into the system because there's times where I see hands that are just like there's a red-white deck with Zenith Flare or something, and you cycle, and then you just drop a Zenith Flare and kill somebody. And it's like, what? why does that exist?
Well, to your point, the lead designer, like tester designer person for like behind Magic, the guy who's playing the role of lead designer over like the last few years, has actually like made official statements that like the cards in Magic for like the number of sets leading up to this current cycle have just been getting more and more powerful. And like to your point, almost exactly, it was like they kind of purposely did that as an experiment to see like what happens if they just make everything overpowered. And he did not say that it failed, but he did say that they are moving into a new thing now where like basically like the King Arthur set, which I don't remember the name of it, Throne of whatever, which was the start of this current cycle, was like he said was like kind of like the peak of the overpowered cards, and now they're starting to roll it back. Which, that being said, the Zenith Flare thing that you just referred to is just in this last set, which is not very far rolled back. But they are going to they are in the midst of kind of pulling things back here over the next year or two. So we'll see how that evens out or not. But
yeah, I'm not a fan of like one-shot kill combos in the game, and there's a couple of those out there now. A lot of red deck stuff that does it seems to be focusing on, but when I was introduced to Magic in the 90s, it was just a brawler. Like, I'm going to get my creatures out, and there was very little removal. There's very little control, just enough to like, if you held on to it, there would be some key card you could control. But now it's like, and this has been a problem for a long time, don't get me wrong, but now it's like every deck is half control cards, and it's just a matter of who runs out of control cards first.
maybe at the diamond level.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's what I mean. Yeah, sorry. When you're in the lower levels, especially when you're playing a lot more budget decks, then they tend to have a lot more creatures. They tend to be like the fun, brawly, like let's hit the crap out of each other. And I felt my deck was really good at brawling. Like, it was just really good. It couldn't go really long game, but that early to mid game, it was really good.
Yeah.
Where now every deck in Diamond seems to just be all control. Like, it's just everything is a removal card, everything is a counter spell, everything is a return this, everything is an exile that, and it's all the entire job at Diamond, it seems, is to have some mythic rare, whether this is Planeswalker or some weird creature or some weird spell like the Zenith Flare win condition, right? There's a particular win condition. You're going to scry, you're going to cycle, you're going to whatever the other one is that black decks tend to do, surveil or whatever. And you're going to rip through your deck as fast as possible while laying down as much control with as much cards in your hand as possible until you find that win condition, and then you'll drop the win condition and you'll win. And so it's a matter of, if you're playing another deck like that, is who gets to the card first, or if you're playing my deck, it's just you win, because I don't have that. I don't have enough in the tank to outlast the 300 control cards you put in your deck to keep my creatures off the table until you find the 3 planeswalkers that'll do some weird combo and kill me in 2 turns. Like, it's a weird game at that level, and that I don't like that. It actually frustrates me a lot. But it is what it is. Anyway, enough of that. Magic's lame. I'm just kidding. I like it. I will say, I do want to talk real quick before we get off, is because it's getting to be about that time.
It is.
Our good friend Spectre Speed, who likes to troll us, I don't know where he's at tonight, but he hasn't been on, for some time now has been talking about the show RWBY. That's RWBY, which is basically an anime, but it's not, because it's made in America. He always has stuff on his desk about it, so I call him a weeb, and he always defends himself. Well, it's not a weeb because this is made by Americans. I'm like, well, doesn't that make it even more of a weeb? Because you're watching American anime trying to be Japanese. And I guess I didn't realize this, and he was just talking about it recently, but apparently it's made by Rooster Teeth, which, if anybody remembers, is our good friends that make, not our good friends, we don't know them, but I feel like they're good friends because they're a huge part of my 20 years ago or whatever. But Red versus Blue, which was one of the first like really hilarious like internet shows that basically took Halo 2. Was it Halo 2 they started in? Did they start in 1? Okay. And the idea was there was a glitch in the game where if you look straight down at the ground with your gun, their head would stop looking down and it would look up. And then you could like just move the gun a little bit and make their head move. And then they voice over that, and they made these shows, and it ran for quite some time. Like, I don't know, maybe it's still running.
It was great.
And it was hilarious. And I didn't realize that this show Spectre's been talking about is actually an anime made by them. Same people that made Red versus Blue. So I went and looked it up, and I was like, oh, wow, they make all sorts of crazy stuff. But that show actually looked kind of neat, so I gave it a try. And, it's been 3 days, and I've made it through 6 seasons now. So I've been fairly obsessed with it. It's quite good. I will say that I'm trying to think of what I can compare it to. It's got almost an Attack on Titan feel.
Okay.
Where like there's kind of these unknown mythical like just black monsters that like attack, and like the world is split into these cities that kind of defend against these monster attacks, and these guys are trained in schools to become hunters, that huntsmen they call them, because there's kind of a fairy tale vibe to it where you got huntsmen and you got like a Little Red Riding Hood and that type of stuff. And there's all these crazy adventures, and it goes on, and it's all over the place. I will say if you are looking for a good kind of not mainstream anywhere, because it's just this company that makes internet stuff, show it, and you like anime, it's really good. I would just give you one warning: is the first season, the animation is really rough. Because it's kind of old now. I mean, there's 7 seasons out. This thing has been running for a while, and they're probably making it on quite a budget. They don't have all the budget in the world, so the animation's a little rough to begin with, but it smooths out, especially even just in the second season. It gets better, and if you can hold out the first couple episodes and not be annoyed by the animation, the show gets really good really fast, and it's kind of deep and gets really dark, and it kind of has that stressful feel that you get. Again, I like to compare it to Attack on Titan because it's stressful. They always seem to be behind the 8 ball like they are on that show in Attack. And I was trying to think. I had a good comparison. I felt it was like Attack on Titan met something, and I'm kind of missing it. But there's a magic element. They all have their own kind of superpower of sorts. And they all have big crazy weapons, which is fun. There's a little bit, it's almost like they steal from some stuff. There's a little bit of, I want to say Avatar, The Last Airbender, where there's these 4 maidens that get past each generation. Like as one dies, another one gets carnated and stuff like that. So it's quite good. If anybody's out there listening and you're looking for some kind of anime to watch and you haven't watched RWBY, that's RWBY. Without spoiling things, I would highly recommend it. Every character has its like own weapon and its own specially like kind of skill that they unlock, almost like mutant power. That they hit a certain age and it kind of manifests itself. So like one girl can absorb lightning and it makes her super strong, and the main character RWBY can like turn into petals and move really fast. It's like her little secret power.
I'm assuming that Volume 1 is Season 1.
Yep. So if you go to YouTube, and if you're watching this later, I'll put a link in the description to it. But if you go to YouTube, there'll be like Volume 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 complete. Some of the later volumes get split into 2 parts, and they're on 7 now. 7's done, but 6 and 7 you have to watch episodically. But if you want to binge them, the first 5 seasons are in these huge, like hour-and-a-half long chunks, and they cut out all the like credits and the opening music, credit scene and all that stuff. And so you only watch the credits once at the very beginning, then you watch like an hour and a half of the show straight through, which is super fun to binge through. And it's good. It's quite good. That's really all I got.
I like it. And by I like it, I mean I like Rooster Teeth, so now I want to watch it.
Oh, the old belt.
You know what? Let's end this by showing your deck destroying my new deck that's horrible.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Okay, well, we don't have to.
We can. I mean, probably not on stream, but we can totally go and play. I'm happy with where we are. I hope everybody else is happy with where we are. Sorry for the late start today. Things are just the way they are. I
mean, I do, but
go watch RWBY. Do it. It's actually quite good, especially later in the seasons. Like they're smart about the way they write the show. They actually call things out that are like would normally be plot holes that shows would just go away from, and they tend to shy away from like major plot holes and the Deus Ex Machina idea of like just God sorts it out. Luckily for them at the end. I mean, there's some of that in every show all the time, but
sure.
They try to avoid it. The characters don't like jump the shark in their powers. They just kind of keep their powers, and it's more about the characters being put in set pieces where they have a lot of strife and a lot of drama, but they overcome it. It's really good. It's really quite good. Go watch that. Come back here in 2 weeks. We'll have more of our podcast. Catch us on Thursdays where we play Gloomhaven. And I think that's mostly it. Is there anything else we're doing? Hopefully soon IRL board games.
Yes. In real life.
We've done a couple of those. IRL in the ironic sense that we'll be IRL, but you'll still be on the stream watching us.
Yeah, but you'll get to watch us be in real life, much like I am in real life right now, but Adam is not.
Right. I am totally not. This is not real life. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll chat you later. Bye. Oh, I gotta hit the button.
Hit the button.